Hey everyone, it's Alexander Robinson. Welcome to the channel, and this is my review for Transformers, which came out in 2007. It was directed by Michael Bay, and it was the very first live-action Transformers movie. The movie follows a high school kid named Sam Witwicky, played by Shia LaBeouf. His dad buys him his very first car, an old beat-up Camaro from the 1970s, which, I mean, at the very least it's a Camaro, so at least there's kind of a cool retro vibe to it, but it's not really the car that Sam was hoping to get. However, he soon finds out that his car is actually a transforming robot from outer space. The robot's name is Bumblebee, and he's part of a faction of autonomous robotic organisms from the planet of Cybertron called Autobots. And soon Bumblebee is joined by 4 other Autobots, Jazz, Ironhide, Ratchet, and the leader of the team, Optimus Prime. They have arrived on Earth to try to retrieve a power source that can save the planet of Cybertron. The Allspark, or Cube, is what they're after, and they have to reach it before the Decepticons get a hold of it, the faction that was responsible for Cybertron's fall. Also part of this plot is Megan Fox, who plays Michaela, a girl that Sam has a crush on. She gets roped up into this journey, and we have a group of government and military officials who have had encounters with the Decepticons early on. I've talked about the summer of 2007 a couple of times. I reviewed some of their biggest movies that year, like Spider-Man 3, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, and Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. With the exception of Harry Potter, the summer of 2007 was actually kind of a very mediocre summer when it came to big budget special effects movies, or even sequels. Spider-Man 3 is probably the best out of the mediocre summer movies that year. Shrek the Third was, well, a turd. I appreciate things about Pirates 3, but I don't love it as a whole. Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer is some bullshit. Transformers was the movie that everyone was talking about that summer, and I myself liked it when it came out. I actually remember that day quite well. A high school friend of mine went to go see Transformers in the middle of the afternoon, and we had a blast. I was never a fan of Transformers growing up, and I'm not saying that in the sense of, ew, Transformers, no thank you. I just wasn't paying attention to it. Obviously, I wasn't alive when the G1 series aired. I didn't play with any of the toys. I think the main reason this movie caught my interest was because Steven Spielberg was an executive producer on it. Because I was not exposed to Michael Bay prior to this film. And again, when I saw it in 2007, I really enjoyed it. But I was 16 years old. Cut to 16 years later, where I'm revisiting this movie as a 32-year-old man, there is some stuff that I still actually admire about this movie, and some things that certainly have not aged well. And that's not even me comparing this movie to the sequels that have come out afterwards, which are undeniably worse, but we'll talk about those later. I actually really like how the story is told, because it's told from the point of view of the human characters, which I know is a major criticism with the sequels, but this movie has sort of an E.T. Iron Giant vibe to it. Sam Witwicky is basically Elliot, and Bumblebee is E.T., and in my opinion, the Bumblebee movie did this plot line a lot better. But I thought there was some integrity with the way the story was being told at first. I thought Shia LaBeouf was actually very charismatic, and there were some funny moments scattered throughout. And that's saying something, because normally Michael Bay is not all that funny. It feels more like Michael Bay was restrained when making this movie. With Steven Spielberg on as an executive producer, I feel like this is one of the few times that Spielberg actually had a hand in this movie, so you definitely feel that. Story-wise, the first half very much plays like a Spielberg movie, except it's got the gorgeous women and the overly dramatic cinematography that Michael Bay is well known for. And even all the stuff with the military personnel, Josh Duhamel and Tyrese, I thought the opening had a really good hook where a Decepticon basically invades the base and destroys it, leaving these 2 soldiers and the rest of their squad to fight for their lives. I mean, the opening is pretty cool. The fight that they have later on with Scorponok is actually pretty fun. It's actually a pretty damn good setup, and it made me curious to see how the rest of the movie played out, because I hadn't watched it since it came out in theaters. I think, oh, you know what? I take that back. The last time I watched this movie was on DVD before Revenge of the Fallen came out, but that was 14 years ago. So it's still been a while since I've seen this movie. Unfortunately, the things that really bring this movie down start to happen when the Autobots show up. That's not really a good sign when the movie gets worse when the title characters actually show up. Let me explain myself before I get crucified, because I know a lot of people who were kids when this movie came out are starting to have more of a voice on the internet, much like with the people who saw the prequels when they were kids. The reason the movie starts to lose me when the Autobots come in is because the middle drags like crazy. After Optimus Prime and the rest of the Autobots arrive on Earth, there's a long section of it dedicated to more setup. There's hardly any Decepticons in the middle act. The humor is even worse than it was in the first act. Like that whole sequence when Sam is trying to find the glasses that have the coordinates to the Allspark. You have Optimus Prime and all the other Autobots just walking around like bumbling idiots, trying not to make a sound and alert Sam's parents. It's just embarrassing to watch. And also the moment where you have Optimus Prime say, "Oops, sorry, my bad." That just felt so surreal. Like, why would Optimus Prime ever say? It doesn't sound right. And the whole government conspiracy subplot, and with Sector 7 and John Turturro, that gets annoying and it's entirely unnecessary. The Decepticons don't really make their presence known until the beginning of the third act. We have Barricade following Sam around, and Blackout is the one responsible for the attack on the military base, but we don't even see Starscream until an hour and a half into the movie, and Megatron doesn't even do anything. He's not even thawed out and takes action until an hour and 45 minutes in, and this is a nearly 2.5-hour movie. So that middle act I found to be really disappointing. But when we get to the third act, I thought it was ultimately a mixed bag. First of all, the decision to take the Allspark into the middle of Los Angeles is a stupid idea. If the job of the US military is to serve and protect this country, why in the world did they think it was a good idea to take this valuable energy source that the Decepticons are after and bring it into the heart of a city with 3 million people populating it? That is a total brain dead idea, and I think the only reason that decision was made was because we wanted to see robots tearing up a city, which even then, the cinematography on those sequences is kind of a mixed bag. There is admittedly some great action in this final sequence, but a lot of the times the camera is just way too close to some of the human characters. It's shaking all over the place. We don't get a really good view of the Transformers fighting each other. Like the brief fight that Optimus Prime has with Bone Crusher in the LA highways, that's admittedly cool, even though it's pretty short. When he's fighting Megatron in downtown, however, not only is it poorly shot, but Optimus Prime gets his ass kicked a lot by Megatron, so it's bizarre. Also, there's an establishing shot where Barricade is following our heroes into downtown with Bone Crusher, and then he completely disappears from the movie. Starscream's last appearance is taking out a group of F-22s. He disappears. So there's not really much consistency in terms of this final battle. And the way it resolves itself, where Sam uses the Allspark to kill Megatron, makes no sense. There's just a lot of inconsistencies with this script. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and there's several moments that you could just cut out of the movie and no one would have cared. Like when Sam is taken to the police station after he's arrested, and there's that weird cop that shows his gun and is just crazy. He's basically an eccentric Michael Bay stereotype. That scene could have been cut, and I don't think anyone would notice. At the end of the day, this first Transformers movie very much reminds me of Man of Steel, where it's not really a good movie. I would never have a desire to watch it again, but there are some things to admire about it. The cinematography is really well done. Shia LaBeouf has a lot of charisma. Hearing Peter Cullen voice Optimus Prime is really good. I mean, the guy is 81 years old, and the fact that he's still voicing Optimus Prime is a true testament to how powerful that character is and how much we associate Peter Cullen with Prime. The way this movie tells its story from the point of view of the humans is actually quite admirable, even if it doesn't really stick the landing. The special effects are flat out fantastic, even though there's a lot of moments where the camera is up close on the Transformers as they're transforming, and it would be really cool to see a great transformation from these designs, which I think are a mixed bag. Like, Optimus Prime and Bumblebee look cool, Megatron and Starscream don't really look all that good. I would say watch at your own risk. Technically, it's not a good movie, and one of the things that really irks me about this film is that when it ends, I think there's a lot of potential that you can do with a sequel, much like with Man of Steel. And unfortunately, like with Snyder's DC movies, the follow-up that we got to this film was so much worse than what we could have imagined. But unlike Snyder's DC movies, there's no redemption story like there was with the Snyder Cut. It's okay, that's the best praise I can give to it. Some stuff that I really like in it, some stuff not so much, but I have no real hate for this film. And there you go, that's my review for 2007's Transformers. I hope you enjoyed it. And once again, I want to thank you guys so much for being subscribed to this channel for 10 years. Even though I might not be consistent with my upload schedule on this channel, I do appreciate you guys tuning in and watching these reviews. And I really hope you appreciate what I do for you, because next week, oh boy, I'm not ready for next week, because next week I finally face my worst enemy in the form of a movie. Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. Back in April, I made an updated list of my least favorite movies of all time. Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen landed on number 1. I didn't really explain why, but next week I finally will. So strap in, because next week I visit my nemesis film for the final time. But until then, I want to know what you guys think about the 2007 Transformers. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get notifications. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day and take care of yourselves.